Salut les amis, c'est Monsieur Nours, j'espère que vous allez bien, moi ça va plutôt pas mal et on se retrouve pour un nouvel épisode de Vampyr. On est mercredi, comme tous les mercredis c'est du Vampyr. Et on va continuer notre aventure, nos enquêtes avec le docteur Reid. Bonjour, on va récupérer ça. J'ai l'impression qu'il y a des nouveaux trucs à chaque fois, non? Pas récupérer les bouteilles qui sont là? Non. Alors, qu'est-ce qu'on doit faire? On doit se rendre à Whitechapel pour la suite de la quête. On a fait nos évolutions lors de l'épisode dernier. Ok, alors Whitechapel, c'est à 176 mètres par là-bas. Let's go. État du quartier grave. Ah. Ok. Donc on va peut-être pas y aller en mode... Ah, voilà. Niveau 18. Ok, on va se calmer tout de suite. Moi, je suis niveau 9, mon gars. Hein. Peut-être pas abuser. Ok, on va se détendre, on va se détendre. Il va pas être tout seul, ce con. Non mais niveau 12. Ils ont des armes, ces petits bâtards. Aïe. Ok, calme-toi, calme-toi, c'est bon, on a compris, t'es balèze. Ici, petit bâtard. Oh, c'était stylé ça. Je sais pas du tout ce que j'ai fait, mais c'était très stylé. Le mec lance des fleurs. Oui, je sais. Mais il faut se lancer des fleurs de temps en temps. Si personne ne le fait, faites-le pour vous-même. Vous verrez, vous vous sentirez beaucoup mieux. Est-ce qu'on peut casser des trucs ici? Est-ce que ça va nous servir à récupérer des trucs ici? J'ai pas l'impression. Ok. Il y a peut-être moyen de passer tranquillement, sans se faire remarquer. Est-ce que je peux rentrer dans cette maison? Ah non mais je suis complètement dans la visitation, très clairement. Le mec rentre au calme chez les gens. Bon, apparemment il n'y a rien. Donc on va pouvoir sortir mais... Le gars totalement rentre chez les gens au calme quoi. Ok, il y a du sang. Votre roi et votre pays ont besoin de vous. Ok, je vais vous en armer, super. Super. Propagande. Dead inside. Ok, donc on a un gars ici. C'est un scal sauvage, on va essayer d'y aller doucement. Voilà. C'était plutôt sympa. On l'a bloqué dans un coin, il a rien compris. On va les laisser tranquilles, si on peut passer. Ok, ok, calmez-vous, calmez-vous. Voilà. Hop là, on se calme. Putain, il est hyper résistant ce petit con. Ah, calmez-vous, calmez-vous. Calmez-vous, j'ai dit. Voilà, hop. Voilà. Putain, il est bien protégé. Ouh, le petit bâtard. Il est très très bien protégé. Déjà, on voit qu'on perd quand même beaucoup moins de notre vie. Ah, bâtard. Oh, tu vas te calmer, mon gars. J'ai l'impression qu'on est vraiment beaucoup plus résistant. Allez, faut que tu meurs maintenant. Voilà, merci. À un moment donné. Lui, il avait beaucoup d'armure par contre, c'était un peu plus chiant. Ok. Ça, c'est fait. La zone n'a pas l'air simple hein, quand même. Ça c'est le premier gars qu'on a tué, ok. On a peut-être pas pris le bon chemin non plus pour venir ici. Hein.
Whitechapel. This neighborhood is linked somehow to the kind Lady Ashbury's blackmail. First, let's find this Petrescu fella.
Ok, on doit trouver Petrescu. Il est décédé lui? Apparemment il est décédé. Oula.
What? Shooting a boy in the middle of the street. Not the best thing to do, wouldn't you say?
What? You saw what happened. Who are you?
I'm Dr. Reid, and I'd like to ask you a few questions, if you promise me to set your gun aside.
No. Look, I'm not a violent man. I'm Benjamin Palmer, doctor. And no one can help me. Not even you.
Perhaps you could focus for a moment and tell me your troubles.
I'm sick, broke, and my son just stole my pills. Everything's coming up roses.
What can you tell me about this place?
Nothing to say, really. This is where I used to live, and this is where I live now.
You mean you used to have a better life?
Yeah, I had a wife, a home, and a job. I even used to have a name. And now I'm just Ben. Ben the Tramp.
You don't have anywhere to go? No family that would welcome you?
Not since the death of my wife, Albert's mother. She was sick, you see. Long before the flu and all this shit.
Do you know Nurse Dorothy Crane from the Pembroke Hospital? Have you heard anything?
It's funny, I've been searching for her too. I need some pills. But the woman is a phantom, if you ask me.
Really? And why is that?
Word is she ain't real. She's a cover for some doctor who runs an illegal dispensary for migrants.
Whatever the boy did, I'm sure he didn't deserve a public execution.
I swear I didn't want to hit him. It's just that I'm sick in the head, you see, and the boy he just frayed me last nerve.
On a fait le tour.
A gun, alcohol, and a bad temper make a terrible cocktail, sir. Goodbye for now.
Ok, on peut pas l'envoûter, donc...
Are you all right?
The bastard hit the wall next to me. I don't even know if he meant to miss.
If you've been hurt, I can help you. I'm a doctor.
Name's Albert. Remember it. Now bugger off.
Très bien.
Do you know Nurse Dorothy Crane from the Pembroke Hospital? If you know anything about her, I'd appreciate it.
Never heard of her. She's pretty, I'll keep an eye out.
Ah d'accord. Beauf de France.
What happened? Did you really steal that man's
Ah, il l'a pas
medication?
tué en fait.
Hey, I didn't do anything, it ain't me.
All right. Perhaps the poor drunk just confused you with someone else.
Sod off, mister. You ain't got no clue what's going on here. Bastard was a soldier in the war, so now he's got the right to shoot me.
It's true. I'm not familiar with this part of town. Perhaps you could help me.
I said sod off. Go find yourself another guide.
Ah, on a eu un petit truc là. On a eu un petit indice.
Goodbye, young man.
On va pouvoir aller retourner voir Palmer si on le retrouve. Ah merde, il s'est barré ce con.
Good evening, Benjamin. Can I help you?
I'm afraid not, Mr. Reid.
What is it, Benjamin? It was the war, wasn't it? Your nerves are shot, aren't they? I need some answers, Private. From one soldier to another.
The doctors called me a liar. A coward. Put me in a straitjacket, locked me up. Finally, they sent me back to the front lines with a handful of tablets.
Yes. Sounds like shell shock. I've seen a few cases like yours. This is nothing you should be ashamed of, Benjamin. And it's perfectly natural in your situation.
Not ashamed. I just need my pills. Peace and quiet, that's all.
Perhaps you could focus for a moment and tell me your trouble.
I'm sick.
A gun, alcohol, and a bad temper make a terrible cocktail, sir. Goodbye for now.
Alors par contre, il a une migraine, on peut pas le soigner, je sais pas.
Good evening, miss.
Good evening, sir. Are you interested in a miraculous cure for this unknown and deadly epidemic?
Actually, I am.
Then you have come to the right place. The famous Swanborough cordial is all you need to help keep you in perfect health.
Oh, really? Why didn't I hear about it during my studies? I'm Jonathan Reid, by the way. Dr. Jonathan Reid.
Ah, my brother has spoken of your research, sir. I'm Loretta Swanborough, and it's always a pleasure to meet a fellow healer.
Un confrère.
Tell me, who intrigues you most in Whitechapel?
The region itself is something to see, but I would say Camellia the mute florist who gives away her flowers.
What do you think of the locals?
Most of them are afraid or desperate. They all come to me eventually for my remedy.
Is there anyone I should avoid?
Cadogan Bates, without a doubt. The bloody bastard remorselessly exploits poor migrants as soon as they get here.
Do you know Nurse Dorothy Crane from the Pembroke Hospital? I'd like to know more about her.
I don't like to talk about competition.
Competition, you say?
Never met her, but it seems she provides some sort of medical care to the poor. The whole thing has to be some sort of scam, if you ask me.
Goodbye, Miss Swanborough. Perhaps we'll talk again.
Okay, apparemment on peut faire affaire avec elle, donc à mon avis ça doit être une espèce de PNJ. On va avancer un petit peu. Vers le point de la mission, apparemment il faut qu'on se place voilà ici.
What do you want? Leave me alone.
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Reid. I'm looking for Nurse Dorothy Crane.
There is no Dorothy Crane here. Now goodbye.
I'm afraid this medical leaflet says the opposite, sir.
Really? Well, I'm afraid I'm going to close this door right now. Go bother someone else, Mr. Doctor.
To enter that house, I must discover who this man really is. Maybe I could start by observing what he's up to.
A strange man was at the door with a pass for our medical facility. I refused him entry.
Darius, how could you know he didn't need our help?
His clothes were too finely tailored to be from Whitechapel.
Perhaps just a friend of that stray poet who is always about.
Richard Nithercott? No, not of the same cloth, this man. I suspect some machination from that journalist.
Clayton Darby. Is he still asking questions?
Yes. I saw him drifting around St. Mary's Church. I swear he is tracking me just downwind.
I cannot. I must talk to that journalist or the poet. They must know about Darius.
Okay.
Nearby the church they just mentioned.
Your money. Come on, Barrett, you know the game. You pay for peace of mind. God.
Excuse me, sir. I have a few questions for you.
Another journalist? I didn't answer the first one, so piss off.
I'm not a journalist, I'm a doctor.
A doctor, you say? It's quite a rare breed in this part of town.
Really? But still, here I am. Dr. Jonathan Reid, at your service.
I'm Joe Peterson to some, but Colossus Joe to most. And I don't remember asking for your service, sir.
May I ask what you do around here?
I do whatever I want, and sometimes even more. Now sod off.
Ok, très bien. Le mec est
According
accueillant.
to you, physicians are scarce in this part of town. Why is that?
Not familiar with this neighborhood, are you? I guess your fancy colleagues are too afraid of being stabbed in the back.
This part of town does have quite a reputation. Would you say it's justified?
Totally. Look at me, for instance. I always look my opponent in the eye before knocking him out.
Have you heard of a nurse named Dorothy Crane? She's a colleague of mine, and is supposed to live around here.
Dorothy Crane? Yeah, I know her. One of the few good souls who dare to help the sick around here.
Could you please tell me more about her?
She's a nice girl. Tries to help the migrants. I offered to give her a hand, but she said my reputation would attract too much attention.
Goodbye, Mr. Peterson.
Ok. Toi, t'es qui?
Welcome, sir. Please, take a browse of my wares.
I am Dr. Reid. I would like to ask you a few questions, if you don't mind.
Doctor? Interesting. I'm Barrett Lewis. Usually I don't have time to waste with talk, but at this hour of the night I can hardly refuse.
How is business around here?
Business? I have no business. Between this racket, theft, and customers getting scared, I'm losing money every day.
I see. Sounds like you blame someone in particular for your situation.
It's no secret Joe Peterson spends his time harassing merchants. But with me, he's trying to put me out of business once and for all.
As a merchant, you see Whitechapel every day. Have you noticed anything out of the ordinary recently?
Well, you mean besides the epidemic, the war, and all the usual crap? As long as I can remember, this part of town has been a bottomless pit, and no sign of the bottom yet.
Violence is increasing in the borough.
Yeah. A few nights ago, some blokes jumped me. Came out of one of the condemned workshops. Fever, madness, something like that.
Where did this happen? Why did you go there?
In the closed workshops nearby. I worked there as an apprentice in better days. Now I only go to find trinkets or tools. Too bad I was mugged, though. There was good money in that little box of loot I lost.
Ok.
Have you been hurt?
No, but that's only because I ran like hell. Those men were raving lunatics, I tell you. Not even able to speak anymore, just screaming.
Have you heard of a nurse called Dorothy Crane?
Nurse Crane? So the bitch really is a nurse, then? Always thought she was just some crafty foreigner, that one.
Yes, she's a nurse, and quite a good one. What did she do to gain such notoriety?
Dorothy Crane ain't even a real name. Something like Dorothea Craniu. Something like that. Came to England fleeing the war, I was told.
That doesn't explain why she irritates you so much.
Your precious Nurse Crane gives away medical supplies and prescriptions for free. I offered to sell it for a fair cut, but no. Miss Crane wanted to play the quiet saint.
Goodbye for now, Mr. Lewis.
Ok.
You again? What do you want this time?
Toi, on en a pris un petit peu plus.
How did you become the local bully everyone is afraid of, Joe?
There's no pride in roughing up poor bastards. But this is the only job I've found. And it pays well, too.
A job? So you're racketeering for someone else?
I got enlisted by the Wet Boot Boys, a gang from the docks. I'm their muscle for their dirty work.
Most people don't become thugs when unemployed. This is a choice you made.
I don't care what you think, sir. I do what I have to do for my own reasons, and that's that.
I'm not sure Mr. Lewis would agree with your by all means necessary philosophy, sir.
Oh, do you really think he's the poor victim here? Barrett can be as sneaky as anyone. Long ago, I even called the bastard my best friend.
Goodbye, Mr. Peterson.
Bon, on enchaîne avec eux, mais c'est pas du tout ce qu'on doit faire, hein, comme dans la quête. Pourquoi il y a un chargement?
Fancy buying something, sir?
You never lose your focus,
Ok,
do you?
très bien.
Joe Peterson. He's the villain here, isn't he? But you seem to know each other.
I'd known Joe for years. I saw him box once or twice. He was a friend then. But these days, he's just another thug.
What can you tell me about Mr. Peterson? Besides his behavior toward you, obviously.
Colossus Joe was a decent boxer, good one even. But after his wife passed away, he found every excuse to stop training. Just wanted to pick fights with everyone.
It's never easy to find a new path in life, especially after the loss of a loved one. But crime is certainly not the best option.
We've all had some rough times, ain't we? But most of us don't use our fists to see us through.
And no one has ever stood up to this thug.
Nobody would be fool enough to stand against a wet boot boy.
Goodbye for now, Mr. Lewis. Forgive my interruption.
Do not apologize, my son. Father Tobias Whitaker is always happy to teach mortals about the incoming Armageddon.
I am Dr. Jonathan Reid, and I just have a few questions.
A scientist? You are much more lost than I thought, my son.
What do you mean when you say that I am more lost than you thought?
All scientists are entangled in a world of causes and consequences, and most of them can't see the plain truth.
Quite a judgmental opinion, if you ask me. But what do I know? Blinded by science as I am.
Well, you are seeking answers, aren't you? Answers about the Armageddon about to strike the city. Answers about the hidden truth.
Well, I suppose I can spare a few minutes listening to your so-called truth.
As a doctor, you must be aware of the decimating epidemic. But let me tell you that this so-called Spanish flu is just the beginning of the end.
What do you mean?
The beast is finally revealing itself, corrupting the flesh and the heart of men. With my own eyes I have seen them, those minions from the abyss.
Really? And what would be your answer to this biblical threat?
We must fight the disease before this legion outnumbers us. But not with scalpels and microscopes. No.
What is left then?
Cleansing fire.
Tell me, Tobias, what exactly is your plan concerning the cleansing of this city?
God will recognize his own. More than once this city has risen from the ashes, hardened and purified by the flames.
Purification by fire has proved useful, but where do you stop? Burn the clothes? The buildings? The corpses? Worse?
Your lack of faith is predictable. But my task is to convince rational minds like yours to see the light. This is God's will.
You're mad and dangerous. You're nothing but a soulless butcher. A small-time Torquemada. The Savonarola of Whitechapel.
My son, if you think salvation is a free gift, go listen to the lies of that pompous fool, Joseph.
Joseph, a fool?
Vicar Larrabee of St. Mary's Church. While he continues preaching his fraudulent redemption, more and more people die in the streets.
Have you any friends? Any family left in these terrible times?
No. But I have a disciple I see as my son. He is so devoted. I send him to preach the good word in the heart of this corrupted city.
You sent him on some preaching crusade during the epidemic.
As a true believer, Samuel will fear no evil while he walks through the valley of the shadow of death.
Where did you send him?
I sent Samuel to the Stonebridge Cemetery, where the pestilence and evil grows night after night.
Il est taré, lui, hein.
Do you know Nurse Dorothy Crane from the Pembroke Hospital? I'd like to know more about her.
I don't like the liberal ideas of nurses, but I especially abhor that Nurse Crane you mentioned.
Why do you hate Nurse Crane more than other nurses?
Before coming to London, she was a member of the communist resistance in our country. That's what happens when you let a woman get involved in politics.
T'embarques pas là-dedans, Jean-Michel.
So you're not exactly a fan of Florence Nightingale's work. But nurses are essential for modern healthcare.
Nuns should be the only women allowed to take care of male patients. It's obvious only they have the necessary moral fiber.
What do you mean when you say that I am more lost than you thought?
All scientists are entangled in a world of causes and consequences, and most of them can't see the plain truth.
Quite a judgmental opinion, if you ask me. But what do I know? Blinded by science as I am.
But you are seeking answers, aren't you? Answers about the Armageddon about to strike the city. Answers about the hidden truth.
I am. But the answers I seek are based on facts, not superstition. I have heard enough for tonight. Goodbye.
Ok. On a qui ici? Un journaliste.
Excuse me, sir. Are you familiar with this part of town? Name's Clayton Dark.
Ah bah tiens,
reporter.
ce qu'on cherchait
Sorry,
justement.
I'm new to Whitechapel. But perhaps you could help me since you're a journalist. My name is Jonathan Reid.
Dr. Reid, the famous surgeon. I'll gladly help if I'm able, sir.
Why are the newspapers keeping silent about the Spanish influenza? It's as though none of you care.
There's a war going on. People shouldn't be demoralized by news of deadly diseases.
If no one stops it, this epidemic could turn into a scourge. It may kill more people than the war itself.
Yes, this is another kind of war, but just as deadly. History will judge us all for what we did and what we did not.
Have you any idea of the danger you face in these streets at night?
I've had to run and hide more than once from frenzied mobs incensed by the fever. Do you think the flu is really responsible for this, Doctor?
That science is unable to explain the facts doesn't mean there is no rational explanation.
I confess, I share your point of view, Doctor.
What is a journalist doing in this borough after sunset?
He goes where none of his colleagues would dare to go, to inform the country.
So you risk your life to reveal the truth? I saw many reporters do the same during the war.
Whitechapel is the crucible of so many untold stories and tragedies. I want people to know them.
That's quite honorable of you. But is the public interested?
Not at all, sir. And that's why I'm an independent journalist, hoping to sell some stories.
I heard you're investigating an underground medical dispensary in Whitechapel. What do you know about it?
Not much, I'm afraid. They are wary of strangers, and I'm not really an acquaintance of theirs. Why do you care?
I'm afraid one of the nurses from the Pembroke Hospital may be involved with unsavory activities.
Ah, could it be Dorothy Crane?
Without a doubt, you are a damn fine journalist, Mr. Darby. What do you know of her accomplice, a man named Darius?
I don't know much about the man. He's very cautious. Never goes out. Doesn't seem to have any friends or family.
He never goes out?
No. A few days ago, he unexpectedly did. I followed him, but it was just a ruse to keep me away from his house.
Really? How do you know?
He went to the nearest mailbox, but just before posting his letter, he ripped it up and threw it away.
He has no relatives at all?
No. Except for that strange man, a poet named Richard Nethercott, who sometimes comes by. Darius would never let him in.
Where can I find this Mr. Nethercott?
He spends most of his time lurking around Whitechapel, talking to himself or declaring verses. These days, you can usually find him behind the church.
Intéressant. Il n'y a plus rien normalement.
Goodbye, Mr. Darby. Farewell.
Très bien. Alors, il nous a dit derrière l'église. Je pense qu'on va juste s'arrêter là pour aujourd'hui. Malheureusement, on n'a pas de lit pour EP. On n'a pas pris non plus beaucoup d'XP. Là, on est vraiment sur un jeu d'enquête. Hein. On n'est pas sur du combat. Donc, on va voir ce que ça donne. En tout cas, j'espère que l'épisode vous aura plu. Excusez-moi pour ce petit bruit, j'ai tapé dans mon bureau. Merci à tous de m'avoir regardé. C'était Vampyr, un jeu, donc le petit jeu d'un studio français, un Dontnod pour ceux qui connaissent, les créateurs de Life is Strange, qui est bien sympathique, je trouve de plus en plus intéressant. Ce mélange entre le gameplay combat et enquête me plaît beaucoup. Et l'évolution du personnage peut être sympathique, et surtout les choix qu'on a à faire sur les quartiers peut être aussi intéressant. Voilà. Merci à tous d'avoir regardé l'épisode. On se retrouve mercredi pour la suite de Vampyr. Demain, c'est du Project Cars 2 avec normalement du RX Lite, si je ne m'abuse. J'ai pas encore tourné les épisodes, donc je peux pas vous dire, mais je crois que c'est ça. Hein. Il y a encore quelques manches à faire. Merci à tous. Bon week-end, bonne semaine, plutôt, parce qu'on est mercredi du coup. Mais là, moi, je tourne le week-end. N'hésitez pas à vous abonner, partager la vidéo, à commenter, bien sûr, à aller faire un petit tour sur les réseaux sociaux, Discord, tout ça. Et à la semaine prochaine pour la suite. Salut, bye bye.